Hello students, let us start our first class with a new unit, that is diversity in the living world. And let us start with the new chapter, living world. What is living and living organisms? Living organisms and non-living organisms make many differences, but what is living organisms? Living organisms can be characterized by some properties or characteristics that make them defining character. Let's see whether these characteristics make them defining or not. What are the characteristics that are shown by the living organisms? They are growth, reproduction, sensing the environment, and metabolism. Here we can say sensing the environment or surroundings. Okay, first we take growth is the first characteristic. So growth can be seen in living organisms externally. Growth can be seen in living organisms. Okay, so how it happens is by multiplication, that is number of cells and increase in size, etc. We can see the growth day by day. Do the non-living organisms grow? Yes. Example, mountains. So these mountains, how they grow? They can grow by the accumulation of the external particles or external matter. So they also grow. Here, living organisms grows by the number of cells and size. They increase in size and growth. So mountains, they also grow by their size. So what is the difference that makes between living organisms and non-living organisms? So both are growing. So we can say that growth is the defining character of a living organism. So growth is not a defining character. Not a defining character of living organisms. Next, number 2, that is reproduction. Reproduction. Here, reproduction only in living organisms occurs. Here we cannot take the non-living organisms or non-living things. Now, what is reproduction? Reproduction is a process which is done by the fusion of male and female gametes, and now reproduction occurs in living organisms. Do all living organisms reproduce? Let's see an example, mule, which is a hybrid we got by the crossing of donkey with a horse. This mule is sterile. This mule is sterile. It cannot reproduce. It cannot reproduce. So this is sterile one. It cannot reproduce. So it is a living thing, but it cannot reproduce. Let us take another example. In human beings, some males are sterile. So they cannot reproduce. Let us take another example of bees. Bees are of 3 types, worker bees, queen bee and male bees. Worker bees constitute male and female bees, but they are infertile or sterile. So they don't reproduce. So here reproduction which occurs in living organisms, but here the living organisms which cannot reproduce are also the living organisms. For example, mule and humans and man is sterile, and bees some of the working bees or worker bees are sterile. So we cannot take the reproduction as a defining property. So this is not a defining property. Next, number 3. Number 3 is sensing the environment or surroundings. Sensing the surroundings. Sensing the surroundings. All living organisms can sense the surroundings. What about the person in coma? Is he can sense the surroundings? No. The answer is no. But how it makes the defining character of the consciousness? Let's see. A person in coma is given injections and treatment. Here, a person who is in coma, he responds to the chemicals which are given into his body. Okay, so he is responding. He is responding. So now, living organism can respond to the stimuli. Stimuli is a start over point. Okay, so they can respond to the stimuli. So we can take this, the sensing of the surrounding or responding to the stimulus, as a defining character. So it is a defining property. Next, number 4, that is metabolism. Metabolism is seen only in living organisms or live cells. Okay, so here non-living things. So here metabolism only occurs in live cells. Only a living body can perform the process called metabolism. What is metabolism? Metabolism is a process through which the digestion, some of the processes such as digestion, respiration, excretion, and these are all the processes which come under the metabolism. So metabolism is a process which occurs only in the living cells. So this makes the living cells a defining property. So we can take this as a defining property. The defining property of living cells. So here these are all living organisms, but these are all living organisms which show these characteristics, but in these growth and reproduction are not taken as the defining properties that a living organism should have. But living organisms show the both similar characteristics such as sensing the surroundings or responding to the stimuli and metabolic property or metabolism process. Okay, this is all about the properties and characteristics of living and non-living organisms. So we will discuss about living world and nomenclature in our next video.